Hello my friends, my name is Artur and I am an Estonian YouTuber. Every video I make there's one comment, one guy who pisses me off with the comment, react to Russian republics explained by Geography Now. I don't want to do anything if people force me to do it. This guy comments it all the time. I'm so pissed off. I even answered to him rudely sometimes. He still doesn't stop, so I figure, fine, I'll do it just so you will shut up and don't bother me anymore. So today we are reacting to Russian republics. But before we start this video, I have a serious note for you. This is my cat. She does not have a name actually. I call her Kizu. She's super cute. You have seen her in many videos. She wants to go away now because I'm talking. She's very energetic, you know. And she's also female, but I have to give her away, unfortunately. Yeah, because I'm moving due to unexpected circumstances and the new place does not allow cats. I only just got her, but I have to give her away. Look, she's cute. So I figured the first way to try to do this is not to give her to the shelter. I don't want to do that. So if any of you guys are from Estonia, and this is to Estonians, if you want a cat, a nice YouTuber cat, then this is your chance. Contact me and we'll talk and I'll see if you can handle this Kizu. So yeah, look, she's cute and she wants to have a new owner. I mean, she doesn't, but I kind of need to give her away, which is super sad. But maybe we can find a new owner for her. Help me out with this. There's also another message before we start. The Infograpjics Show contacted me. Yes, the YouTube channel Infograpjics Show, the show that I've reacted a lot to, and they said that I can actually react to their videos and they're not going to claim my videos, which is the nicest thing anyone can ever do. So Infograpjics Show is the first channel to say that yes, use my content, I will not claim it, meaning that I will get the revenue, meaning that I will be reacting to more of Infograpjics Show, which is super nice. I feel obliged to give a shout out to them. The Infograpjics Show, link is in the description below. They're super nice, go and check them out. I do want to read you the Patreons. We have some new Patreons since the last video. I want to read their names because they directly make this YouTube stuff a lot easier. Sometimes YouTube screws me over with the revenue. The Patreons come and help me out. Thank you, rehiartur. I'm pretty sure this is Finnish. Levi, R and A is like an Estonian and Finnish letter, I think. rehiartur. Kiitos. Thank you, Keith O'Dwyer. Now you must be like Scottish or Irish or something. Keith O'Dwyer. Yeah, I think that's Irish, that's my guess, or British. Thank you anyway. That's it, we have 2 new Patreons, applause for them, thank you. And all of you, the rest of the viewers, learn from them. They are so nice people that they actually support the creator. You can do the same. But now we will jump into the video.
So as you know, last time I did the states of India and I asked you guys what country would you like me to do administrative divisions next, and a lot of you said Russia. The problem is the Russian Federation is broken down into 85 federal subjects into 5...
Wow, look at this map. All of these subjects. I mean, oh no, these are just divisions by Russian central powers. They're not the republics that want to be free, right? Because that would be too many people who want to be free in their country. That would create a lot of conflict. Yeah, let's find out.
Categories. We don't really have a lot of time for 85 anything on Geography Now. However, we do have enough time to cover one of the categories, the republics of Russia.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know much about Russia, it is actually a very diverse country with lots of different types of people living in it, not just Russians. The republics are kind of like the non-Russian ethnic enclaves that have their own level of administration.
Russian as a people group almost does not actually exist. It's a mix. It's like America. Russia and America are very similar because they're both mixtures of smaller nations or nations that live inside them, nations who have come together, the immigrants. Russia is a bit similar because Russia is just a mixture of everything. Mixture of different Slavic people, mixture of Asians, Middle Easterns, Islamics, Orthodox, everything. It's just a pure Russian. I don't know even what that is. Just Russian culture is a lone culture actually from all of the indigenous people who lived there and who Peter the I kind of killed off. I think in this video we will open that up. So if you're from America and you think Russia is just, oh, Russia, they have their culture and ethnicities. They do, but it's not Russian. It's actually the indigenous people who have the culture and Russians just took it over. A lot of Russian culture comes from the Ukrainians and the Kazakhs actually, which are not Russian, and they take it as their culture. You know, the crazy dancing, the fast polka songs. Not Russian actually, they're Polish and Ukrainian, and they just took it over and now it's Russian. So this is how big powers work.
These subjects have the right to establish their own language and constitution. The other subjects don't have these rights. Today there are 22 of them, and I will try my best to explain. Here we go. The first one, Adygea, capital Maikop. A minority group represented, the Adyge people. They are one of the 12 Circassian tribes, and they are one of the 3 federal subjects that have Circassian people as their minority group. They even use the Circassian flag as their republic flag. Culturally, they are mountain folk. They have a series of traditions and customs. They love playing music with...
Their outfits with the pockets here are very famous, and Russians use their dances. They're the guys who dance really cool. Their sword dances and everything, you know. Russians use it a lot in their culture shows, but it's not theirs. It's I don't know how to say it in Estonia or in English. Circassian, I don't know. Well, it's from there anyway. And it's a very small minor group, and their culture is so widespread.
Shishipin violins that look like daggers. They have these really interesting traditional dances where they like go on their toes. It looks kind of painful. They have these halush deep fried pastries with cheese in them. Ooh. There's a lot of ancient tradition here. Like they still have these tablestone house things. Nobody quite knows exactly what they are. Some say that they're tombs. Under tradition, a groom is never supposed to meet his bride's parents. Insert offensive joke here. The Altai Republic. Capital, Gorno Altaisk. Minority group represented, the Altai, whom are a Turkic group. The Altai people come from 10 different...
Altai people have a very cool way of singing, the throat singing. It's very similar to Mongols, and they use throat singing with the two-tone singing in the mouth. So you sing with your regular voice, and the position of your tongue and mouth cavity makes another sound. It's double sound singing, which is really cool. No other people do it except for a few Mongol tribes and Altai tribes. Very awesome. I love their music.
Different clans. There's the UNESCO heritage site that can be found here, the Ukok Plateau. It has these interesting stone structures that are believed to be burial sites, but some people say that they're like magnetic instruments that direct the cosmic energy of the universe. Yeah, there's a lot of new age tourism in this area. It's also the place where they found the Siberian ice maiden, the mummy that was preserved in permafrost. Bashkortostan. Capital is Ufa. Minority group represented, the Bashkirs. This is the most populated republic out of all the republics. It was the first ethnic autonomous area established in 1917. They come from the Ural Mountains, and their flag even has the Kurai flower. It has 7 petals representing the 7 families that gave birth to the Bashkir peoples. Music is huge here. They even make woodwind flutes by chopping up reeds from the Kurai plant. The capital city has a huge monument dedicated to this guy. He's like considered their hero. Further out east, Buryatia. Capital, Ulan-Ude. Ethnic minority represented by about 30% of the population. The Buryat.
Yeah, the ethnics in Russia are from Turkic, Mongolic or Finno-Ugric tribes, usually. There's some Asiatic also, but mostly from them, so yeah. I think in this video he will mention some Finno-Ugrics also. I hope so, at least.
They are a Mongolic people group who are actually related to the Mongols and the Kalmyks. This republic is right next to Lake Baikal, Russia's largest and deepest lake in the world. Because of that, they're not allowed to really industrialize their area because they don't want to pollute the lake. It's so important.
Yeah, because Lake Baikal is it's a very pure place, they say. It's a very like spiritually nice and clean place, so you would not want to ruin that by industrializing the area. So yeah, if you have a chance, go and visit Lake Baikal. It's amazing. It's also a Soviet lemonade, Baikal. It's this weird tasting sweet drink, which they still sell in Estonia, and I'm pretty sure they sell it in Russia also. If you have drink in Baikal, let me know in the comments.
Culturally speaking, it's very interesting because they kind of like fuse Buddhism with shamanism. They have unique traditions like bone fortune telling. They also have great hot springs. Supposedly the waters can heal you from like anything and everything.
Yeah.
The next one you may have heard in the news a few times. Chechnya, capital Grozny. Obviously the minority.
Chechens, they're crazy people. Ooh, they're the most like war or aggressive people you can have. Russia, the huge country, had trouble with such a small area like Chechnya. They had 2 wars. Well, they won the second one. I'm not sure about the first one, but it was a lot of violence, a lot of bombing, and such a small area repelled all of Russia. So yeah, you don't want to mess with the Chechens. They have their curved knives, and they're even the noses are curved. They're like mountain Islamic people, very strong and very fierce people. Don't mess with them. Also, Chechens are connected to Estonia in a way that we both are small areas, small nations that were persecuted by Russians. We got free, the Chechens did not got free. Right now they're under Kadyrov, who is friend with Putin. Well, somewhat friends, they get along, so Chechens now are under Putin basically. But they want to be free as we did.
represented are the Chechen people at about 95%, and they are the lowest alcohol drinking region of Russia.
Hey, because they're Islamic, they don't drink. The whole Russia drinks, they're the only part that doesn't drink, because, you know, they're Muslims.
Their Islam thing. Basically, when Russia came in, Stalin got suspicious and exiled a lot of them to Kazakhstan, and then he brought them back, and then in the 90s they tried to declare independence, but then Russia was like, nope, and that's where the subsequent Chechen wars began.
Yeah.
There's a series of separatist movements and terrorist attacks, and to this day, it's kind of died down, but the separatist activity still kind of lingers. It's like it could ignite if someone pushes the buttons, but right now it's kind of like at a standstill. I mean, the people just want to live their lives like normal. Otherwise, though, they actually have very beautiful scenery. I mean, if you're one of those like controversy region tourists, then you might want to put this on your bucket list. Chuvashia, capital Cheboksary, minority group represented at about 2/3 of the population. The Chuvash, known as the Silver people. Chuvash people are kind of like the strange outcast cousins of the Turkic groups because their language is the most isolated and kind of difficult for the other ones to understand. It's kind of like the Icelandic of Turkic languages. But if there's one thing this place is famous for, it has to be beer. Everybody knows Chuvashia makes beer. Many households brew their own version and they add their
I'd like to taste Chuvashian beer. If you're from Russia, not many people from Russia watch me, but if you happen to know anyone from Chuvashia, please get them to send me some beer. I would love to taste it. Estonian beer is really good. Tasted some European ones. They're horrible. Let me go into like Russian beers. Just send me one bottle, I'll taste it.
Little secret ingredients, and they have all these nice little happy songs and dances that go with it. Next one, get ready because this has a lot of controversy. If you're Ukrainian, you're not gonna like hearing this, but I kind of have to cover it. Crimea Capital, which is also a federal city. The represented minority group being the Crimean Tatars, who only make up about 12% of the population.
Crimea actually is a weird place because right now there's problems. There have been problems with Crimea all over the place, with Turkey, with Ukraine, with Russia, and people living there are not only Tartars. There have been living many different tribes there. They have been deported many different times by Russian and by Turkic governments, and this is just a very bloody area with a lot of different people living traces there. So yeah, you could not call it belonging to one nation. It belongs to a lot of tribes.
They used to be the majority, but then again, in former USSR times, they were exiled to Uzbekistan, and then some of them were allowed to come back. However, today, the majority of the population is Russian. This is the largest dispute area with Russia and Ukraine today. Basically, this whole area used to be under complete Ukrainian authority, but then in 2014, a bunch of pro-Russian separatists and the Russian military got involved.
Let me be clear, he cannot say, or he doesn't want to say here that the Russians, but actually not pro-Russian, but Russian military got into Ukraine. It was full out Putin's project to take Crimea, so it was not separatists, they were Russian who went in there.
And they issued a takeover. Most countries across the world do not recognize this as a part of Russia, but it kind of operates and functions under Russian authority today. It's really confusing. Also, it's kind of like a very geographically advantageous location as it kind of gives access to the Black Sea and then further to the Mediterranean. But yeah, hotbed of dispute. Oh, and there's ancient Greek sites over here as well because of lots of history. Dagestan, the gateway to the Caucasus. Capital, Makhachkala. The minority group represented, there's actually not a single one, but it's kind of like 10 main minority groups. The largest ones being the Caucasian groups, the Avars, Dargins, and there's also the Turkic, Kumiks, and Azerbaijanis. Overall, over 100 nationalities and over 30 languages are spoken in this area. It is the most racially diverse region in all of Russia.
Dagestan is a mountainous region also. I remember in the Soviet times they had to put some resistance there, and it was quite bloody. Whenever the Soviet Union went to an area with mountains, they got their ass beaten. So yeah, Dagestanian farmers beat Soviet ass also. They lost, of course, but with huge casualties to the Soviet Union.
About 80% of the population identifies as Muslim.
Again, Muslims. What's with Muslims and aggressiveness, or like, not aggressiveness, it's the wrong word. Feisty and fearfulness. They're really like strong warriors. I don't want to say they're aggressive, I just want to say that they're good at war. Yeah.
Land has lots of beautiful mountains and forests and fortresses. If you come here, chances are you will definitely find a burqa overcoat. Not burqa, burqa. The people here love to dance with daggers. Recently, just like in Chechnya in 2008 and 2012, there was kind of like a wave of guerrilla warfare that was going on. The Russian government got involved. It got kind of messy. But yeah, it's interesting because there's like so many different people groups, and it's just they all have their own little story here. Ingushetia, the smallest of all the federal subjects in Russia. Capital, Magas. Minority group represented being the Ingush. They are very similar to the Chechens. They're like the little brother of the Chechens, and they speak almost the same language, and the majority of them are Muslim. Back in World War II times, Stalin deported a lot of them to Kazakhstan, and then when they were allowed to come back, they realized a lot of the Ossetian people took over what they claimed to be their land, and there was a lot of internal conflict. Culturally today, a lot of them don't really quite know the extent of their history, since a lot of it depended on oral tradition and songs. And just a heads up, this is probably one of the most poorest regions of all of Russia.
Oh
if you
no.
go, there will be a lot of security checkpoints. If you're a man, it's not really recommended that you grow a beard because you might be mistaken for an Ingush rebel. I mean, you guys have seen me with facial hair, so I think I'll be good. Kabardino-Balkaria, capital Nalchik. Two main groups populate most of this area at about 70%. The Kabarde, who are Circassians, just like the other ones we talked about, and the
We have not yet gotten any Finno-Ugrics. I'm very curious if there will be. The half of the video is over and I have not seen brothers from another mother yet. So yeah, let's wait.
Tatars, whom are Kipchak Turkic. Out of all the 12 Circassian tribes, the Kabarde are the largest ones. And even though the majority of them identify as Muslim, there's still like about 12% that still kind of practice the traditional Habze faith. It involves a lot of nature stuff and spirits. The land has beautiful gorges and hills, and the
Nature stuff and spirits, that's what gathers my religion actually. I love nature stuff and spirits. Woohoo!
tallest peak in all of Russia and Europe, if you consider it Europe. People here are also known for being quite athletic. This guy won the first gold for Russia in the Rio Olympics. Kalmykia, capital Elista. Minority group represented, the Kalmyks, who make up about 60% of the population. This is probably the strangest demographic anomaly in all of Russia. Why? Because Kalmyks are the westernmost Buddhist community in the entire world, and they are the only region in all of Europe in which Buddhism is the majority religion. Today you can see traditional Buddhist temples all over the capital Elista. According to tradition, their ancestors, the Oirats, migrated from Central Asia to find better land, or maybe they tried to escape from the Mongol tribes. Nobody really quite knows. But the point is, they came here and brought Buddhism. Historically, the Russians...
Really cool, I didn't even know this. We have Buddhism naturally existing in almost European borders. Very awesome.
Made a lot of deals with them, and then they deported them, and then they brought them back, and today it looks really Buddhist-y.
Okay, they look like they're Tibetan Buddhist. It's very different. It's quite different from Indian or Chinese Buddhism. They're different sects of Buddhism, which is fine. They're all Buddhism, but still Tibetan ones are a bit more focused on rebirth and the lineage of where do you come from after in your previous life. And they look like they would, yeah, they were praying to Dalai Lama, so they're the Tibetan branch, I think.
Russian. Karachay-Cherkessia, capital Cherkess. Just like Kabardino-Balkaria, they have two main groups, the Turkic Karachay peoples and the Circassian Cherkesk peoples. Just like Kabardino-Balkaria, a portion of the population here still actually kind of maintains the ancient Circassian religions. The people here love horse riding. There's also like a rite of passage for like boys to becoming men when they're 9 years old, like they have to get a whip from their father. Or
all of these mountain peoples are big on horse warriors. Before guns were invented, they were like they had the curved swords and they were big on horse riding. They were one of the best in the world, and nowadays the connection with the horse is still in their blood because they survived with the horse. They traveled around and a little bit like Mongols, you know.
Grandfather and ride the horse with that whip. Karelia, capital Petrozavodsk. Minority.
Karelia! This is Finno-Ugric, I would say. It says Uralic, but Karelia would be Finno-Ugric. The first one, at least, we can call a little bit similar to us.
Group represented the Karelians, whom are the lowest minority group in a republic at less than 10%. The Karelians are some of the last few remaining Uralic peoples on the planet, and they are the cousins of Finnish people. They speak a language that is very similar.
Cousins of Finnish, cousins of Estonians, woohoo! Yeah, we got at least one Finno-Ugric, but only one. I thought there would be more.
Some people say it's just a dialect of Finnish. However, unfortunately, unless a revival happens, the future of the Karelian language and culture is looking kind of bleak, and it's kind of dying out. And even though this is the Russian Federation flag, the Karelian people have their own Karelian flag, which looks like this. And they're known for making these really cool, like, egg pie. It's called Karelian pie, but it's like a pastry. It's really good.
Karelian pie tastes awful. I'm sorry, Karelians. I've tasted it in America when there was a Finnish party. I went there, tasted it. Ooh, no, it's really horrible. No, but hey, love the culture, just don't like the pie.
It's really good. Khakassia, capital Abakan, minority group represented, the Khakas. Most scholars agree that they are most likely related to the Kyrgyz people in Kyrgyzstan. The cool thing though is that this place was kind of like the crossroads where a lot of people passed through in ancient times. So it's kind of labeled as Siberia's archaeological Mecca. There's so many ancient sites found here. You have things like stones and obelisks, ruined cities, forts, and rock drawings. And they have that 7-story tall burial mound. The Komi Republic, capital...
Komi, they're Finno-Ugric also. I know Komi, it says Uralic. Okay, Barbie is saying it's Uralic when they're Finno-Ugric. It's just the same, different word. But yeah, okay, we have 2 now.
Siktivar. I don't even know at this point. Minority group represented, the Komi, at about a quarter of the population. Komi is like the Ural mountain capital. It offers some of the best tourism for the dividing range. They have the Virgin Komi Forest, a UNESCO heritage site, and this national park, which is beautiful. They also kind of have a history of hosting some of the most brutal gulags in all of Russian history. But the forests are nice. They have their own food, and they have their own traditions based off of pre-Christian shamanism, and they still kind of keep those traditions alive.
Yeah, these Finno-Ugrics in Russia are usually pagan. Sometimes they're Orthodox, but usually they're pagan full out, going back to the roots before Christianization.
A little bit. The Mari El Republic.
Mari are also our relatives, Finno-Ugrics. Yes, now we're getting to the point. Mari are actually the oldest pagans in Europe, if you consider Russia as Europe. They still sacrifice not animals but food to the gods. They have groves and they do the rites there. In the university I go to in Tartu, they have a library, and in that library actually there's an exhibition of Mari sacrificial ceremonies right now. I just read about them, they're really cool.
Ola, minority group represented, the Mari. Located in the Volga territory, the Mari people are kind of called like Europe's last pagans.
Yeah,
these people actually do keep a lot of the pre-Christian pagan traditions.
Okay, sorry, I just figured I told everything that he's gonna tell here, but I love this topic, so yeah.
It's alive. It's kind of like what Russia used to look like before Christianity came in. Half of all the women know how to play the gusli. A lot of times they have an all-Mari prayer service in which the entire community comes together. They bring a lot of food. They sacrifice the bones, skin, and organs of an animal to the fire. Mordovia, capital Saransk. Minority group
also Finno-Ugric.
Mordvin. And here's the thing, the land here is pretty flat, but they still love like cross-country skiing. These people are really big on wood carving, and they are really good at it. It's not uncommon to see a lot of traditional
This is the inside of an Estonian farmhouse, basically. We share the culture with them. The language is a bit different now, because a lot of time passed since we were one tribe. The culture is a bit different, but the houses are the same, and the wood carvings, even like the way they decorate their I don't know, wooden instruments. And if you look back 300 years in Estonia, the wooden instruments, it's exactly the same, although they're very different places now.
In houses that look like log cabins. It's like they sand the wood very nice and well. And they also have, disputably, the most famous puppet theater in all of Russia. North Ossetia Alania. Capital, Vladikavkaz. Minority group, the Ossetians. And they are the only Iranian people group that have their own republic in Russia. As in, they're descended from people from Iran. But the thing is, the majority of them are Christian. Anyway, it was also historically part of the Silk Road, and the people here made a lot of money back in the day. Today it has lots of minerals and spa resorts. But then there's the controversy with South Ossetia. We talked about this in the Georgia episode. Internationally recognized as part of Georgia, however, administratively it kind of falls under Russian jurisdiction since 2008, after the Russo-Georgian.
Yeah, Russo-Georgian War. Another horrible war that Russia did. Just 2 horrible things that Putin did was Crimea and Georgia. It was also fabricated that they have to invade Georgia, basically. They beat Georgia really fast. Georgian army could not get against the Russian army, but it was not fair.
War. In order to get in from the Georgia side, you actually need a passport. Next one, Yakutia, or the Sakha Republic. Minority group represented, the Yakut. This is a very unique spot in Russia. They are like the most East Asian looking people in Russia. They hold fast to their traditions. They have a lot of their own traditional costumes and food. They like to perform circus acts. They love horses. They even have a summer festival in which everybody just kind of does their own cool thing. There's a ton of diamond mining out here. And Yakutsk, the Capital is like the second coldest major city in the world. Tatarstan Capital is Kazan. Minority group at about half of the population are the Tatars. These guys are like the brothers of Bashkortostan. And out of all the secondary languages taught in Russia, Tatar is actually one of the most prevalent. Basically, a long time ago, the Volga Bulgars mixed in with the Kipchak Turks, and then bam, the Tatars were born. Today, they're one of the most economically developed regions in all of Russia. Tons of oil here. They have these 3 UNESCO heritage sites. And yeah, the place is kind of like a mix between Orthodox and Muslim. And there's even an all religions temple that was built here. Tuva Capital.
All religions temple, that sounds like a place for war. I mean, religions are not peaceful usually, except for the East Asian religions, so yeah. I wouldn't want to go there.
Kaisel, minority group, the Tuvan people. And it's weird because these people are like an offshoot cousin of the Mongols, even though they speak a Turkic language. I mean, at one point they even were part of Mongolia. They have very similar traditions and customs to the Mongolian people. It's one of the few places where you can find steppe nomadic lifestyle traditions. Just like the Mongolians, they have their own version of throat singing, which sounds kind of eerie because it uses like 2 tones with your throat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay, let's listen to it. That's really cool. I freaking love this stuff. Most people are weirded out by it, but I love it. It's so pagan.
And just like the Mongolians, there's a noticeable Buddhist majority. Yeah, it's like Buddhist Russians. Hi, Kalmykia. And finally, Udmurtia. Capital, yes, minority group, about 30%. The Udmurts. They are known as the Meadow people, and they have one of the highest concentrations of people with red hair in all of Russia. They even have a red hair festival. They have their own national epic called the Dorzhivny. They play it with lots of strings and wood.
Okay, this is kannel. We have the same. This is like a national instrument in Estonia. Kannel. We have the same thing. I don't know if Latvians have it. Finnish definitely have it. Soome kannel, Hiiu kannel, whatever, which kind of kannel you need. The Nordics have this instrument, but yeah, it comes over the Urals with Finno-Ugric tribes.
Instruments. Otherwise, remember on Flag/Fan Friday, that person visited this place and they sent me a bunch of stuff from Udmurtia, like this magnet. And I think you were from Finland, and you said like it was interesting because you could kind of understand what they were saying because they're kind of like your cousins.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of Finnish and Estonian and maybe even Hungarian people might be interested in these areas because it's like they kind of technically are.
Hell yeah, I'm interested, Barbie. You're right. I'm very much interested. Let's do another interview.
Are distant relatives of you guys? I don't know. If you're Finnish, Estonian, or Hungarian, what do you think about the people, the Ural people from these areas?
Crazy
anyway,
about it.
That's it. All the republics of the Russian Federation. As you can see, it's kind of interesting because it's like they each kind of...
Alright, applause to Parps for making this video. He really, I think he's American. A lot of different roots, but he can really talk well about other places in the world, especially Finno-Ugrics. No one really talks about us, so I'm really glad he does. So Barbie, if you're watching this, let's make another interview on Finno-Ugrics. I would really like that. Go and subscribe to Geography Now. They're an amazing channel. Barbie does an amazing job. My friends, thank you for watching. This video is already super long, so let's end it fast. If you want to support the channel, please become a Patreon. It would be really nice for you to support. Also, go and get the mug. The link is in the description below. And as always, until my next video, stay cool and bye bye.